The call came in at 2:13 a.m. 911, what's your emergency? Silence. Dispatcher Claire Matthews leaned closer to her headset, straining to hear. Faint breathing crackled through the line, soft and shaky. Honey, can you hear me? She asked, keeping her voice gentle. Are you in danger? Tap the phone if you can't speak. A barely audible click. Claire's stomach tightened. It wasn't the first silent call she'd received, but something about this one felt off. Okay, sweetheart, stay on the line. I'm sending help right now. She traced the call, her screen lighting up with an address in a neighborhood she recognized, a place with too many red flags, too many calls that ended with officers shaking their heads. Claire dispatched units to the scene, heart pounding, a sick feeling creeping up her spine. Officers Daniels and Harper pulled up to the darkened house, their patrol car's headlights slicing through the overgrown yard. The windows were dark, curtains drawn tight. A lone porch light flickered weakly, barely illuminating the cracked front steps. Daniels glanced at Harper. Silent 911, call from a kid. We go in quiet. Harper nodded, hand hovering over his holster as they approached the door. Daniels knocked firmly. Police, is anyone home? Silence. They exchanged a look. Let's check around back, Daniels whispered. As they rounded the house, Harper spotted a window slightly ajar on the second floor. Looks like our way in. Climbing onto the ledge, Daniels peered inside. What he saw made his blood run cold. A pair of wide, terrified eyes stared back at him from under a bed. A little girl, clutching a phone, her knuckles white. Daniels forced the window open and climbed inside, landing softly on the creaky wooden floor. The room smelled of mildew and stale air. Hey, sweetheart, he whispered, kneeling down. We're here to help. Are you alone? The girl didn't speak, just shook her head violently, tears streaming down her face. Daniels held up his hands, trying to keep his voice calm. It's okay. You're safe now? Can you come out? She hesitated, then slowly crawled out from under the bed, her small body trembling. He noticed the bruises on her arms, the way she flinched at every sound. Daniel's heart clenched. Who's here with you? Her lips quivered. Mommy and him? Downstairs, Harper moved through the house carefully, clearing each room with his flashlight. The place was a mess. Overturned furniture, broken glass, the stink of alcohol, and something rotten hanging in the air. A sound from the hallway stopped him in his tracks. A low, raspy breathing. Harper moved toward it, finding a bedroom door slightly open. He nudged it with his foot and found a man slumped in an armchair, a bottle hanging loosely from his fingers. His chest rose and fell in deep, labored breaths. Harper leaned in to check for signs of life, when suddenly the man's eyes snapped open, bloodshot and wild. Get out of my house, he slurred, lunging forward. Harper reacted fast, pinning him against the chair. Stay down! The girl upstairs screamed. Daniel scooped her up as she sobbed into his shoulder. We've got you, he whispered, hurrying to the window where Harper was already cuffing the man downstairs. The little girl clung to Daniels, trembling. He said I couldn't call. He said no one would come. Daniel swallowed the lump in his throat. Well, he was wrong, kiddo. Outside, paramedics arrived, wrapping the girl in a blanket. As they loaded her into the ambulance, she looked back at Daniels, eyes filled with something that looked like hope. Later that night, back at the station, Harper dropped a folder onto Claire's desk. Turns out, he said grimly, she's been calling 911 for months. Same address, same number. Nobody ever followed up. Claire's face paled as she scrolled through the records. Silent calls, disconnected lines. She felt sick. I should have known, she whispered. I should have done more. Daniel shook his head. We did something tonight. That's what matters. Claire looked at the little girl's file, biting her lip. But how many others are out there? No one had an answer. Weeks later, Daniels and Harper received an update. The little girl, now in foster care, had asked if the officers could visit her. Daniels hesitated outside the building, unsure if he could face her again, afraid of what she might say. But when they walked in, she looked up and smiled, a small, hesitant smile, but a real one. You came, she said softly. Daniels knelt down, brushing a strand of hair from her face. Told you I would, didn't I? She hugged him tight, and for the first time in a long time, Daniels felt like he'd done something right. The silent call that led them to her haunted them all in different ways. But it also reminded them why they did what they did, because sometimes even the smallest voice could lead to something much bigger. And this time, someone listened. The end.